So another Playmaker question came up, and that was how to toggle on and off a game object. So I made a simple scene here to demonstrate the idea and to give some hints as to some other things you can do without having to find custom Playmaker actions. So here in my scene, I have red, green, and blue cubes and red, green, and blue buttons. If I toggle the buttons, the object turns on and off. So I want to show real quick how I set that up. The scene itself is pretty straightforward. Just a plane with some cubes that have custom materials added to them. The canvas is, again, pretty straightforward if you're familiar with the Unity UI. I've got a panel here that holds the 3 buttons. It's got a horizontal layout. Keeping them all aligned and nicely spaced out. And then inside are the buttons that are going to control each of the cubes. So I've already created FSMs for the red and the green, and I think maybe the easiest way to show how to do this is to walk through creating the FSM for the blue button, which at the moment does not function. So we're going to go ahead and add a component, FSM. And I'm just going to call it blue button and hit edit to go into Playmaker. So what we want to do here is have 2 states. The first state here is going to wait for the button to get clicked, and the second button is going to toggle the object on and off. So in order to get the click, you need a on-click event. This is an action that you will need to download through the ecosystem browser. It does not come out of the box with Playmaker. So we're going to drag and drop that into the state. And GameObject, we're going to use the owner because that's the button we're interested in. And then we're going to send an event. So we're going to create a new event. Clicked. We're going to add that to our state. Clicked. And then we can call that event. So that's the first step. When we click, we're going to go to this event. We need to add a new state here. This is going to be toggle game object. Okay. And let's make that connection. So we go, and then I'm going to add a finish transition to go back. So in order to toggle the game object, we need to create a variable that's going to represent whether the object is on and off. So I'm going to go to variables, and I'm going to create a variable is active. Make sure it is of type Boolean. I'm going to add that. And then we're going to go to our state. And here's where the different piece comes in. There may or may not be an action in Playmaker, but one of the most powerful pieces of Playmaker is that we can drag a game object into the state. So I'm on my toggle game object state. I'm on the state option here, and I'm going to drag the blue cube into the state. I get this little plus sign. There's a little bit of a delay, and then I get this context menu. And each component that's attached to that object gets a bunch of options. But in this case, what we're interested in is the game object. We want to turn it on and off. And so if we go to game object, again, you can see lots of different options here. Lots of things that you can access. This is a great way to access some of the more basic Unity functions without having to struggle and figure out which action is going to work. In this case, we want to turn this game object off. That happens to be under game object again, and then activate game object. And again, you can see all kinds of options here. You can change all kinds of properties here. Basically anything that's exposed in the inspector, you can change. But we want the active game object. I'm going to choose that. And what by default here, the activate is turned on, it's checked. But we don't always want to turn it on. We want to have that activate be equal to that Boolean that we just created. So we're going to hit the equals here and choose that is active. Now each time it does this, we actually want to flip the Boolean. And so we're going to add the action flip or bool flip, and make sure that comes after the object is active. Okay, so this is assuming that the object starts on and the first time that we click the button is going to turn off. So let's take a look at how that works. Our blue button now turns our blue object on and off. So there you go. Playmaker, pretty useful. If you drag and drop game objects into the state, you can get a ton of actions and access a lot of the more basic Unity functions that way without having to search for custom actions. Hope that was helpful. If you got more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer.